Hello, everybody. Hello. Hi, this is welcome. This is another edition of the Roma Press live stream. So we're going to wait until more people come in. Thank you for those of you who have joined me today. Today is the eve of Roma uh, Milan, but also the eve of the transfer deadline. Joey, hey Joey, thank you for being here. It's good to see some of the regulars so far with this live stream. Another Joey, sub Joey, two Joeys. We get two Joeys, so that's great. Richard says Dai Roma, and Damir says Forza Roma, Forza Roma, Forza Lukaku. Yes, sir. Says Buongiorno, buongiorno. Lupo Solitario, thank you, Andy, for everything. No, thank you, guys. Thank you for the kind comments. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I wanted to bring you a preview of tomorrow's game. I wanted to also touch upon some of the most recent and what will probably be the last transfer rumors of this window. So, good afternoon, Tino. Wow, Quebec, beautiful. Dai Roma. Thank you, Tino, for tuning in. I know that we have a very international audience. Just the last time out, we had somebody from Beijing. We had somebody in Vancouver Island. We had somebody in Trinidad Tobago. So this is a very international group. I'm just waiting for more people to come into the chat. Listening to you while I work from home. That's the good strategy. There you go. Another Montreal, Quebec pal. Mazin. Hello, Mazin. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who has been very encouraging to this format. Thank you for those of you who spared a kind word, shared, took part in these live streams. I'm glad that more people are digging them. Buongiorno, buongiorno, Jay Mackland. Buongiorno. As I was saying, it's very nice. Earlier today, I recorded to well, today's episode, what will probably appear for some of you tomorrow. With John, we already discussed we're going to be recording the podcast episodes on camera. We are just waiting for John to get his camera. He has already ordered a setup, which is going to come in soon enough, I believe. And then you'll see both of us, and we plan to record every podcast episode on camera, so that then you can rewatch on YouTube. You can get to know us a little bit better, the voices, the faces behind the voices, right? So that's what we're trying to do. And in the meantime, you'll have to sit with me here on this live stream. I'm just waiting to see how many more people listening while working out. Beautiful. So we have people who listen while they work and people who listen when they go to the gym. So this is the multi-dimension of Roma Press. We come in all forms and all kinds, and whether it is on the commute to work or in the gym, we're right there with you. Nico, with the first questions. Well, we'll get to it soon enough. Yes, thank you, Nico, for the question. I wanted to touch upon Paredes today. Big love from Seattle. Beautiful. I was just there. I mean, not just there, but I was there 3 months ago. I loved Seattle. Loved Seattle. So beautiful. So beautiful. I did all kinds of things. Visited all the tourist attractions in Seattle. I did the everything. I even went to the aquarium. Loved it. Yahim says, Buonasera a tutti. Buonasera, Yahim. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us on another edition of the live stream. Are you in Italy right now? No, Joe, I'm in Luxembourg. I move around constantly. So most likely you'll see me next in Spain. and then what next? Who knows? So this is my base is in Luxembourg, but I'm moving around. I did go to the U.S. and Canada in the spring. Did a bit of everything. So I was in the East Coast, in the West Coast, and I went up to Vancouver. So loved it. Thank you everybody for joining in. This is as I said, this is another edition of the live stream, and today I wanted to talk to you about the game that awaits us tomorrow. And I know a lot of people are, kind of skeptical about tomorrow's match given Roma's form and Milan's form. Um, I think everybody will agree that the last few days have been marked by this extreme optimism, enthusiasm that was sparked by Lukaku's recent arrival. So I think we can all agree that sort of Roma's performances in the opening two games of the season sort of faded away um, because of Lukaku's arrival, because of his decision to join Roma on loan. It was made official today. So that was a very encouraging sight to see Lukaku wear the jersey. Lukaku completed his first training session with Roma today. He was involved in group training, which is also encouraging, especially given that this is a player that hasn't trained with the team in over 2.5 months. So his last team engagement was with Belgium, and afterwards he trained on his own to the point that he was even staying in Brussels, in his hometown in Belgium, training separately. Was completely frozen out of Chelsea's squad. So this is a player that if we even manage to get like 5 minutes out of him tomorrow, you have to consider that a success. Roma have already announced that they will be presenting him tomorrow at the Stadio Olimpico at 7:30 prior to the match. So that will be his official presentation. It will not be the kind of presentation that you saw Paulo Dybala receive, but still it will be pretty remarkable. I have to imagine. Joey says they say Dybala was in group training as well. Yes, he was. He today was Dybala's first group training session since going down in the match against Hellas Verona. So Dybala is still questionable for tomorrow. It is also worth noting that Dybala was not called up for Argentina's international games this upcoming 2 weeks. So for this international break, Dybala will not be leaving Rome. He will stay at Roma. He will continue to train with the rest of the team. Uh, will it be streaming somewhere? Lupo, you have to consider that I'm notorious for for watching pirated versions of games with Bulgarian commentary. So I'll let the other chatters in the group answer you. I'm pretty sure it will be streaming on DAZN. Um, what can we expect from this game? Can we expect to see Dybala play? That is the big question, because as I said, he was not called up for Argentina, so we have to imagine that there is some sort of precaution in the air on the part of the player and on the part of the coaching staff. They don't want to risk him. Also, given the fact that Dybala has been a bit shaky since injuring himself against Toulouse. There is a bit of precaution on Roma's part in order to get him as fit as possible, along with Renato Sanchez, who's also he's not going to be available tomorrow. He's expected to be back against Empoli. So tomorrow we also had Sardar Azmoun. Sardar Azmoun completed his first group training session today. So that is also encouraging. A player that was rumored to be injured, and yet he was involved in group training today. So most likely tomorrow, Azmoun will also be on the bench. Are you going on another pilgrimage in Spain, Matt? Our good patron, Matt. Good question, Matt. I will be doing another Santiago de Compostela next year, not this year. This year it's too late. I would have to prepare, and I don't want to, because especially it's gonna start raining in the north of Spain this year. So I will do it in the spring. But yes, you'll be catching me also doing that. um, I wanted to also say that Romelu Lukaku will be on the bench tomorrow, and officially he will be called up, and so he would, you know, if push comes to shove, I guess Mourinho could throw him into the mix. Mourinho himself is going to be on the bench finally after his suspension, so that is good news for us, because I think people underestimate the effect it can have to not have your coach on the sideline. You have to consider that Salvatore Foti, his assistant, was also suspended for the first game of the season, and so having Bruno Conti, who is a club legend, there, obviously it's great. But is it the kind of energy that Roma need? I don't know. I think in a match of this caliber against Milan, you need Jose Mourinho on the touchline. What else? Have you ever been to San Sebastian? My favorite place in Spain. No, but that's what I am alluding to. Joey, thank you. When I want to do the Camino del Norte in the north of Spain. So that goes through San Sebastian. It starts a bit before San Sebastian. That's what I want to do. Tomorrow is officially the first game of the season. You could say that, or maybe, the first game of the season for some could be the game against Empoli, which will take place after the international break, because it's rather bizarre if you think about it, to have 3 games and then an international break of 2 weeks. And so the team can't even get acclimated. As I said, Dybala will not be with Argentina. He will stay in the capital, but Leandro Paredes has been called up. So Leandro Paredes, one of Roma's latest signings, a guy who joined just over a week ago, will be leaving the capital after the match with Milan. So after the match with Milan, Paredes boards a flight to Argentina. So that is the news, and so we have to consider what is the midfield for tomorrow. Well, the big question mark is Dybala. The big question mark is also Pellegrini. Lorenzo Pellegrini trained with the team today, although he's coming off a few days of rest after experiencing some pain in his hip. So that is what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a squad where perhaps Houssem Mouawar will have to play behind the striker. I presume that if Dybala is not fit enough to start, Stefan El Shaarawy will take his place in the attack. Then we have to also think that Rick Karsdorp could take Rasmus Christensen's place on the right flank. And then whatever it is that we think of Leonardo Spinazzola and Nicola Zalewski, whoever it is that we we like the best, that's who we put on the starting 11, on our imaginary starting 11. The defense will most likely feature the same players that we saw in the previous game. So Diego Llorente, Chris Smalling, and Gianluca Mancini. I don't expect to see Evan Dika from the start in a match of this caliber. I do expect him to play, for example, against Empoli. Right after the international break, if Ndika is fit enough, if Mourinho likes what he sees during the international break, he could be, I think, incorporated at that time. The Europa League draw is going to be tomorrow as well. Good point, Joachim. What do you think about that? I think it's a quality competition. These are it's I don't really know what can be said in advance until you see that for yourself as the group comes along. I think Roma have to take this competition seriously. Again, doesn't matter if it could compromise your top 4 aspirations. That is not something to be thinking about now. It's going to be the it's going to be very important to start off on the right foot, and also to have everybody committed to the cause. So, for example, involve the guys that don't play as much in the league. I think that's also very important, at least in the opening stages of the Europa League. Somebody like Miles VR. And hey, if Ola Solbakken stays, which I plan to discuss with you next, involve him as well. Yes, I already see that somebody picked up on the recent rumors about Solbakken and Solbakken to Sassuolo. Yeah, these are the rumors. I'll get to it shortly. There is a decent amount of good teams in the L this year, but think about it: the Europa League and Conference League have been quality. I think Europa League last year was, at least in my opinion, in terms of entertainment, in terms of engagement, was far better in certain aspects than the actual Champions League. What's with Salik? Salik, I think, is a player that I wouldn't say he's on the margins of the team, but he's a player that Roma would consider giving away if a good offer comes in. So I think that's the bottom line with Zeki Salik. He is a player that that I don't think has done anything really to impress anybody at the club. He hasn't damaged any game as far as I can recall, any result. But I do think that this is a player that if Roma tomorrow before the transfer deadline they get a, say, a 8 million offer, 10 million, they'll let him go. If they get a loan with obligation to buy offer, they let him go. I think Salik should start tomorrow. He's best suited to contain Leao and Teo. I think those are more than any specific player. I think in a game of this caliber against an opponent like Milan, with the firepower that Milan have, it is really all about team effort in terms of also defensive coverage. Roma to will not be allowed, will not be able to afford to make mistakes that we saw them make against Salernitana and Hellas Verona. This is the type of match where if you lose focus, you don't just concede 1 or 2 goals. You can end up conceding 4 to 5 goals against a team that has those talents up front. So to me, it's not even the importance is not even on one particular defender picking out Rafael Leao. It's about having 3 guys on him blocking him. Kind of the Steph Curry effect. Um, Salik played good against Milan previous year, better than Christensen. Uh, I think Salik put in a decent number of performances. With regards to tomorrow, I don't. I really don't know if there is anybody that is favored to start at this point. Think about it. We have our wing backs. We have so many options there that we don't even know who really is the starter. Is Spinazzola a starter on the left? I don't know. Is Christensen the starter on the right? I don't know. There is Karsdorp. There's Zaleski who can also play there. There is Zeki Salik. Plenty of options, but not one of them is really convincing. At least if you ask anybody, the biggest question mark in terms of naming a starting 11 is exactly in the wingback position. Is that because of Mourinho? Mourinho is gone in a year, and we got him Lukaku. Doesn't make sense to sell Salik and not replace him. We already don't have a left back, left wing back, one injury on right. We're screwed, especially with Rui. Um, yes, I just think that in this case, it's whether you can whether you can make some money. Um, at the end of the day, unfortunately, that is also the rule. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bill, yo. Right. So at the end of the day, in these circumstances, if you get a good offer for Zeki Salik, for a player of that caliber, you need to consider it, and that doesn't mean that it will happen. We only saw some links with Galatasaray. Zeki Salik was rumored that he could leave on loan, but I don't see that happening. That's what I wanted to say. So before I transition into the next segment, I wanted to say thank you again for joining me for another live stream. If you like the show, if you like this channel, and if you like our website, please consider subscribing to our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Roma Press, you can chip in and help support the show, and have access to extra episodes of the show, early access, and also be introduced to the Roma Press Patreon group chat, which is filled with psychopaths and like-minded criminals who are fans of Roma. So Roma Milan, does it dictate the objectives for the season, the outcome? Is it considered crucial? Is this a must-win game, guys? I want to know what you think, because you'll get to know what I really think on today's episode, which will be released shortly. I think partly this is a game unlike Hellas Verona or Salernitana. This is a game that you have to get right, absolutely right, in terms of energy and intensity. I don't expect Roma to show me a tactical masterclass and go head to head with Milan in terms of just what we see on the pitch, the tactics involved. But what I want to see is this team showing me that they acknowledge what they've done against Salernitana and Las Verona is not enough, and I want them to at least put the desire, the spirit that I expect them to play with in a game of this magnitude. Um, on Milan's side, is it just Benacer that's out for tomorrow? Yes, most likely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Benacer is out for a long term. Uh, Matt Falcona, yeah, approves of the Roma press patron group chat description. You must get a point. I agree. I agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, exactly. Where is Alec Raggio? Somebody get him. It's just a game, says yes, sir, but it's important for Roma to make a statement and to put the brakes on Milan's run. That's what I'm saying. It's important to play this game with the mindset of we want to make a statement. It's not even about putting a brilliant performance. It's not even about showing the fans that you got absolutely right in terms of tactics, in terms of game plan. Not even about the result itself. It's about, can I see that you care and that you know you messed up against Hellas Verona and Salernitana? I want to see that. Um, Give a like, guys. Come on, yes, please, guys. Subscribe, like, because that keeps us going. It helps us with the algorithm or whatever. So if you like the show, click that button. Um, Joey, this is a game we need to show how we can bounce back, win or lose. It's a good test for us early in the season. Yeah, it's definitely, especially with the international break, it's very odd to play a game like this and then just be done, you know. And you're like, you play a game of such intensity and against such a high caliber opponent, and then you're just like, okay, well, see you in 2 weeks. In my mind, that is absolute bullshit, because you need, if you get the momentum right, you need to keep it going. Also, you need to figure things out. Like a guy like Leandro Paredes, he just joined. How is he supposed to figure out the mechanisms in the midfield if all of a sudden he's going to Argentina for the next 2 weeks? That it doesn't make any sense, but I guess that's the reality of it. Yakim, I don't think it is going to decide our season. Our team is not complete. With Lukaku, there are new possibilities for our attacking patterns. Certainly. And that's what I'm alluding to, is that I don't even want to see a performance that makes you go, wow, is has Mourinho figured it all out? Is this team a Scudetto contender? Because remember, if Roma lose tomorrow, they're the worst team in the league. If they win tomorrow by the media standards, they're Scudetto contenders without a doubt. Okay, so that's how it works. But to me, the important thing is to see these guys just play their hearts out. I want to at least see them match the intensity that Milan are gonna give, and you can bet your ass they're gonna give a lot of intensity at the Stadio Olimpico. Now that Mourinho is back, I think Roma's performance will be different. If you listen to the interviews given by Gianluca Mancini and Lorenzo Pellegrini right after Hellas Verona, you realize the kind of impact that Mourinho has on that touchline. You may like it, you may not like it. You may say he argues too much. You may say he's too much in the referee's face. But the bottom line is Mourinho is here, entering his third year, not only because he brings prestige to the club and his name brings prestige, but also because he's figured it out with these guys. He got into their heads. He knows that without him, even on just a random Tuesday, these guys will have a very, very hard time. Doesn't mean that anytime Mourinho is there, the team performs. I mean, last season, we had this very funny running joke of Salvatore Foti having a brilliant track record in Mourinho's absence, right? So, but it's still important, I think, with this team, especially psychologically. Mourinho has it. He's in there. He's right in there. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a long break. Gradually, the team will gel, says Steven. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a matter of giving this team time, and mind you, I'm of the opinion that this team has to compete for top four, is absolutely obligated to make it this season. Um, we say it's early in the season, says Leo, but we need these points now in 2024. Hopefully we will be deep in Europa and injuries will take their toll. This is Rome after all. These drop points are huge. Yes, yes and no. To be honest, I've seen so many. Again, I said I've seen this team start off, right out of the gate with plenty of points, and then collapse. Um, I do agree that it's John's favorite saying. The points that you lose at the beginning of the season will come back to haunt you. I also agree that there is a margin for error, and there is room for improvement, and that room for improvement is only highlighted when the team doesn't perform up to its standards, underperforms, makes mistakes. That's when it all comes to light, right? So, um, if you looked at the predicted lineup for tomorrow, you just know we are miles behind Milan. Really? Okay. Well, I mean, in terms of, and it's only right. I think under a certain point of view, it's only right for Roma to be behind Milan. Milan won the Scudetto uh, a year ago, so it's for a team that has missed out on Champions League football 5 years in a row. To be behind the Scudetto winner is only right. I also don't think that we are so far behind in terms of the names on the pitch with Lukaku, with potentially Dybala on the pitch, with Hussein Mouawar. You can argue that the defense, the Rui Patricio doesn't give you the security, but on paper, it's not. We're not that far back. I do agree that Milan have an outstanding attack. Um, we'll see. Alec Rajo, nice sweater. Did you did you part your hair differently? No, Alec, but I was waiting for the hair comments, so thank you. I think it's you're the one person that always pays me a her compliment on here, so thank you very much. Joey Friedkins made it objective to make top four. Biafra reported this. Yeah, I mean, Biafra didn't report it. Biafra said something to the effect of, Friedkins believe that if they gift you Lukaku, the Friedkins' involvement in the Lukaku deal, the fact that they went out of their way to talk to Chelsea's owner, which they're on good terms with, and basically played a vital role in these negotiations, shows you that they consider this signing to be a game changer for the top four pursuit, right? So that's what it means. Can Jose Mourinho bench Pellegrini and Christian for this game? I like to see strong. I don't know who Christian is, but I presume that you mean Pellegrini and Cristante. Pellegrini perhaps will start on the bench because he is not feeling 100% fit. So Lorenzo Pellegrini for tomorrow is questionable to start on the bench. Um, let's see. I don't want to look back at the end of the season and say Candreva was the reason we didn't make UCL. Joey says, "Well, that's also would be classic Roma, no? So we all love a good old fashioned classic Roma moment. No, I don't think so. There's still a lot to play for, and obviously you have to keep in mind that you underperformed against Salernitana. You should have. You that has to haunt you in terms of the team has to remember, has to keep that in mind, has to play differently. That's what it comes down to. So, Lucius Locks, thank you, Dave. That's God, guys, please let's not fetishize my hair. Let's see. I think it's easier to fill out Milan's 4-4-3 than our 3-5-2 with our budget. Yeah, that's you can argue that. I think Milan are quality team, and they're miles ahead in terms of their development. So to be anywhere near them is good for us. You have to realize again that the reality that Roma are in is not the reality that some of us were still used to, say in 2016-17, where you are openly competing for the Scudetto with Juve and everybody else was behind you. So Alec, some other nonsense, but thank you for joining us, Alec. Di Marzio just reported that Solbakken decided to go to Olympiacos because this guy is facing very limited playing time at Roma. So it only makes sense for Solbakken to pick up and say, you know what, I'm going to Greece to play. I think with what Di Marzio is saying is not that he decided to go. At least for now, the news is that it's a strong option for Olympiacos. Um, I would imagine that Roma will earn a permanent fee on that. I don't see him going on loan to Olympiacos and coming back, but we'll see. Because again, I wanted to say these rumors of Spinazzola potentially out, of Ola Solbakken potentially out. I think in the end, if we have to consider some names, outgoing names before the transfer deadline, Ola Solbakken is the more feasible one. While Spinazzola, his status at the team, the fact that over the summer Leonardo Spinazzola held a conversation with Mourinho about his future, given that he's only 1 year away from the expire of his contract, I think that indicates that he will end up staying and he will end up leaving as a free agent. Let's see. Anthony, another good patron of ours. UCL Champions League seems to be the minimum. To be honest, I think we can achieve more. I think I would never say for a team that missed the Champions League football 5 years in a row that it's the minimum. To me, it would be unbelievable to get back into it. I agree that it has to happen. Has to. I was saying this on today's episode with John, which will be released later on within the next few hours. Is that it's it's the only step missing in Jose Mourinho's 3-year program, right? He wanted to be better in Europe. You went to a Europa League final, which you lost, but you did. Um, you won a European trophy, so you won a trophy, and you have to get back to top four. That's the last thing that is remaining on that to-do list that Mourinho probably set out on his first day at Trigoria. A few of our players need to adapt to Jose's system, says Yahim. I think Awar is still a bit slow in the build-up, and his decision-making could be faster. Indica still not featured for us. A lot can change. Yes, the only player that really has smoothly transitioned into this team and has given us reasons to believe in him and in his signing is Houssem Awar. I think Leandro Paredes also showed good things in his limited time. There is that mistake with the Hellas Verona goal, which sort of, diminishes his opening performances. But so far, I think those are the two guys that have shown something. Rasmus Christensen is still figuring it out, and I think it's okay to wait for him, and it's also okay not to expect much of him because if you think about it, when was the last time we were taken aback by one of our wing backs? It was probably when Nikola Zaleski made his debut in his first senior season with Roma. Aside from that, everybody who has played on either flank over these last 2 years has really been disappointing, I think. Let's see what this might be an unpopular opinion, says yes sir, but I think at the end, oh wait, I lost. Oh, but I think at the end of the season we will see that Awar was the best business Pinto did this season. I think with Awar we have a player who has a lot of quality, and a lot of people forgot that about him. He was one of the brightest talents in Europe up until 2 years ago, and then he was basically frozen out of Lyon's squad, and a lot of people forgot about it. And if you put him in a setting that works to his advantage, and you also give him that role, you give him the starting role that he's been waiting for the past 2 years, he can do wonders for you. And so far, even just in terms of physically fit, he is physically fit. I expected him to take much longer to sort of settle in and show me that, yeah, I belong in the starting 11. But tomorrow, I think we can safely say we're all rooting for Houssem Aouar to start. Mm. Serious question, says Alec. Well, thank you, Alec. That's a nice change from you. What happens with Tammy when he's back? Well, Tammy was always going to leave this summer. I think that's the bottom line. Is the reality of that situation was the game against Spezia was supposed to be sort of this farewell cameo appearance, and then goodbye. Thank you for everything. Goodbye, because you could really make real money on him. The injury prevented all this from happening. The injury also gave us Romelu Lukaku, who is on a dry loan, but we have to figure out the future of Tammy Abraham. I still believe that once he's back, he will be gone next summer. But everything really in this situation, everything depends on how the player recovers from a really difficult injury. So that's not something I would be comfortable in talking about. Defiant Stone, yeah, thank you for joining. Any new updates on new goalkeeper? No, so far I think the new goalkeeper is not happening. The new goalkeeper thing is something fans came up, and I don't think that's a feasible thing for Roma in the final days. And as I'm talking to you, yes, I wanted to just give you the update that Joey gave, and I can confirm now that the latest news is that Solbakken has indeed chosen Olympiacos. So Solbakken should be moving from Roma in this final day of the transfer window. The transfer deadline is tomorrow. So after only 6 months in the capital, Solbakken will move to Olympiacos. He had an offer from Sassuolo, but he decided to go to Greece. And so we'll see what the details are of this operation. So far, we don't know if it's a loan or if it's a permanent deal, but that's it. Solbakken is out of the club. Oh, thank you for people joining us. Andy, Roma Press finally on YouTube. Yes. So please subscribe, like, share with friends on social media. Give us a thumbs up, because this really helps us, and I love reading these comments and interacting with you guys. Will we get Borna Sosa or Filip Kostic? Two very expensive signings, I think. Borna Sosa is a guy who had 12 assists last year. I can't see him go for cheap. Filip Kostic had 8 assists last year, and also he plays in a rival club that will most likely not accept any loans. Filip Kostic has been linked with a Premier League move with West Ham United, showing interest in him, but I really doubt that Roma could even afford something like 15 million at this moment in time, just outright, which is what it probably would take to get for somebody like Kostic. And unless obviously Spinazzola, if he doesn't move, nobody comes in, and I think it's highly unlikely for Spinazzola to leave. So is it true that Saudi is targeting Tammy? I haven't seen any rumors about that. Good job, Roma Press team. Thank you very much. Thanks thank you everybody who has just joined in. This is great. How do you guys really think Roma will make it to the Champions League? Which one of the Napoli, Juve, Milan, and Inter will fall behind Roma? If I had to choose be in that list, I would say Juve. Mm, Juve have the advantage of just playing one competition, right? This year they are playing one competition. They're focusing on Serie A, and that's what you want. You want a team that whenever you have that objective of reaching top four, when you are playing just one competition, it's the whole thing is in your favor. And so that's I think what is happening. I think Roma will want to try and push Juve out of the race for a top four, just because just because all the others are so far ahead. I mean, Napoli is reigning Scudetto champions. Inter have a very good depth this year. Milan have gotten stronger. So injuries, yeah, you have to watch out for injuries. Please, can you talk about? Oh, please, can you talk about injury issue? Dybala, Pellegrini, and Renato Sanchez for tomorrow. It is stressing. I said it before. If you just joined, I will just give you an update. Dybala questionable. He trained with the rest of the team. He's still questionable. Um, does he start? I doubt it, because he only took part in today's group training session. So I don't think that's enough time for him to really feel comfortable to start. But with Dybala, we never know, because a lot of his absences in training are for precautions. So with Pellegrini, there is a minor issue, just pain discomfort. So he's also most likely to go on the bench. Renato Sanchez is out. Renato Sanchez will come back after the international break. We definitely need a winger wide forward if Solbakken leaves. But I said it before, guys. We perhaps made the mistake of assuming that Sardar Azmoun was coming here to replace Tammy Abraham, whereas Sardar Azmoun most likely came here to replace Ola Solbakken. I really do believe that. Azmoun should take, will most likely take Ola Solbakken's place in Roma's roster. Because he gives you more versatility up front. He can also play in a partnership with Lukaku. So I just think that's the reality of the situation. I don't see anybody else coming in this late in the window when it comes to the attack. When it comes to the defense, will Eric Garcia's loan be made? That's a good question. We saw his name. I saw his name only being reported by one news outlet in Spain, and so I don't know how much truth there is to that. This is a very good talent. Eric Garcia could leave Barcelona on loan. Those are obviously favorable terms for Roma, who are in need of a center back. And that is also a good prospect. But could this happen? I really don't know. I think Roma will keep looking for a defender until the very end. Jew, hey Jew, another patron. Thank you so much, Jew. Just joined. More Spina negativity from Andy, of course. No, never. Leo says Mourinho won't let Garcia even play until 2024, and he'll make one mistake and be benched. I don't know. I do think that there is truth to the reports that Mourinho wants experience in that fifth center back position. If we add a defender, I would imagine would be somebody with more experience than somebody like Eric Garcia, who's 22 years old. We definitely lack pace up front. The only exception is Elsha. We need to stretch the defenses. I agree. El Shaarawy is probably the one player that sort of gives you the kind of advantage that, well, not on the similar level, but sort of he is trying to emulate what Mohamed Salah was trying to do with Luciano Spalletti's team. Right? He was supposed to be the guy that takes the opponent by surprise, and to an extent, El Shaarawy does that, obviously with less freedom because he has other duties in Mourinho's team. So, supporting Roma from India, great. Fantastic. This is great. We have people from all over the world listening in. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Do you see Zaleski's natural position higher forward? Is he being wasted as a wingback? I think, listen, Zaleski came in and he was basically playing as a midfielder or number 10 in in the Primavera, and we put him as a wing back out of desperation because Spinazzola was injured and Matias Vigna was not giving you the answers that you needed at that point. I do think that Zaleski's game is being hindered, similarly to what happened to Alessandro Florenzi. I don't want to put it out there, but I do think that Zaleski, after that initial enthusiasm that he had in his first season, showed signs of being very uncomfortable in that position, and it would be nice to see him more up front, but it all depends on the defensive line, the defensive solidity that those three center backs can guarantee you, because then you wouldn't need to have the wingbacks playing where they are playing. Don't sell Spina, says Tino. What happens if he finds his Euroform with another club? Everyone is going to have a cow. Well, yes, but there comes a point in time where with a player you must make a decision. With Spina, it's clearly not working out. This is a guy that his whole strength was about uh, overtaking the opponent with pace and his dribbling. And right now, he's dribbling right into the opponent's feet and often losing the ball and often losing his man. And that's the problem. I do think he's a quality player, but the injuries have definitely limited his physical ability and also just his focus. There is no focus. I mean, this guy is all over the place right now. Let's see what else. Anthony, Ola leaving frees up wages, right? Is it enough for Sergio Ramos? Ah, that's a good shout. We haven't talked about Sergio Ramos. That's definitely, I mean, a profile. Talk about experience, but I don't know if Ola Solbaken's wages off the books help us get Sergio Ramos, who makes around 7 million euros, which is what you will be paying Romelu Lukaku for his loan. Sergio Ramos, definitely, it's an amazing player to have as a fifth choice, right? I mean, that's a luxury. That's a luxury. So I really don't know, guys. I want to imagine that if a fifth center back were to arrive, it would be kind of that kind of player that is just so, in terms of like, that player that compensates for whatever you lost in Nemanja Matic's departure, right? Nemanja Matic was vital to the team, not only because of how amazing technically he was, and really, I mean, you look at some of the games he had in the Europa League near the final stretch, and you're like, good God, like this guy could play for ages, and he would be amazing. So I would think that a signing like Sergio Ramos would just be would take it to a whole other level in terms of the excitement, in terms of just the pedigree in the team. Is it realistic right now? I don't think so. Yeah, Ramos and Joseph are red card leaders. Yeah. Rod Heath, thank you, Rod Heath, for joining us and commenting. I loved our team play in second half against Salernitana. Midfielders are highly technical, and if they gel, there is something cooking. But we lack in the wide department, and we need Ndika to come good. Yes, I think this Roma team is waiting for Evan Dika to be incorporated, and then you see what he can offer and how he can change things. I think a lot will depend on how Ndika will integrate. The wingback position is an issue, but we've known that. The midfield is good. I think that's what Jose Mourinho appreciates the most, is that now he has a wide variety of choices, and with Renato Sanchez potentially coming back against Empoli, you're looking at, again, a whole lineup of midfielders that offer you really different solutions to different problems. And that's why I think we shouldn't be so negative, or not negative, but at least so obsessed with being perfect in these opening 2-3 games, because you have a lot of options, you have a lot of combinations, and you need to try them out, and that will never happen if you keep doubting yourself, and if you keep utilizing these results, these underwhelming performances as evidence that you're not going in the right direction. That's not what has to happen. In order for the team to click, you need to go through those moments. Obviously, I don't wish for us to lose tomorrow, but that's it's something we need to take into account. Yeah, I heard Bonucci went to Berlin. Yeah, Bonucci just departed Italy. He's gonna join Union Berlin on a 1-year deal. I don't really mind this, but we should have signed another center back. I fear that an injury in the back line may hurt us really bad. And Roma are looking. I mean, they keep looking. So for an additional defender. And as I said before on this live stream, I believe they'll keep looking until the end of the window. John Forte, ciao from the USA again. Hi, John. Thank you for joining us. Do you see Roma bringing up any good Italian players? I hate seeing Serie A going this direction, paying crazy money for international players and giving Roma. Okay, I don't know how to read that, but okay. I guess the point is, do we bring up the talent from the Primavera or not? Um, we also need to acknowledge that, for example, the cost of somebody like Baldanzi, who is an Empoli player, his profile is similar to that of Paulo Dybala. He considers him his idol. A guy like Baldanzi this summer had a price tag of about 40 million euros after only one season in Serie A. That is insane, especially considering what a guy like that can offer you at the moment. At this moment in time, what can a guy like Baldanzi offer a team that is competing for European silverware, for top four? We don't know. Like, that's the point, is that these players are getting so expensive. As I said on the last episode, Vladimiro Falcone, a guy you like, guys like very much for a goalkeeper. Is his price tag is estimated at 25 million, and this is a goalkeeper that played one season in Serie A. So I think the issue is a lot with the scarcity of talent in Italy, and then the fact that a lot of these talents are so overrated to the point that you can't even afford them. And a guy like that's the same that, like, think about it. Domenico Berardi is still at Sassuolo at age 30, and this guy was being labeled one of the world talents. So that's, I think he's the perfect embodiment of what's wrong with this culture of Italian football and the talents. Does not Nainggolan want to come back to Roma? Definitely. I mean, this guy would sell his family in order to join Roma again. Yeah, read the sport interview. It said he'd come back in a heartbeat. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Raja, there's no other place in the world where Raja feels as loved and comfortable as Roma and Rome. Paredes doesn't have the same kind of dominance Matic had in the midfield, and the guy was benched by Juve academy players last year despite Pogba injured all season. But that doesn't mean that he can't be good for us. And I'm one of the first critics of Paredes in the past. I do think that what he would be asked to do now instead of Matic is not something he feels comfortable with. It's not something that he is able to offer to you right away. The Roma, that's why you have a combination of players in the midfield. You need to compensate for that absence of Matic on the pitch. You can only do so by trying out combinations. Eduardo Bove, Leandro Paredes, Jose Muar, Lorenzo Pellegrini, and Cristante. You need this constant rotation. Renato Sanchez, because you will not find, and I said it the moment that Nemanja Matic left, or the rumors of him leaving appeared, you're not going to find a player of this caliber, a player of this profile, in an affordable manner, because mind you, we're paying Paredes 3 million. 3 million. You got Paredes for 3 million on a permanent deal for 3 million. You're not going to find that kind of profile, a better player for that kind of price tag, So unfortunately, it's something we have to work with. That's the thing. Roma needs a natural defensive midfielder, a solid center back that won't leave us open in the defensive area. Paredes is defensively naive, to be honest. Cristante much is a serious miss. Yeah, but we're not gonna be crying over spilled milk, right? I mean, this is, unfortunately, we have to go on. The show never stops, right? So, I think we all agree that Matic leaving at such a moment in time, only 2 weeks before the start of the new season, sucks. It's something that we don't like. We're missing that kind of player. We're missing his energy. We're missing his experience, and we're missing his quality. But that's why Roma got two guys instead of one, Leandro Paredes and Renato Sanchez, in order to then be able to rotate and try new things out in the midfield. And I think that's Mourinho is going to try that to see what combinations work. I do agree that you can't have a static midfield like Cristante and Paredes. You need guys like Eduardo Bove, Jose Muar, or Renato Sanchez running around Paredes at all times. Do you think Jose leaves for Newcastle next? I really don't know. I could not begin to tell you. Had a really interesting discussion with John on today's episode for the podcast, where we discussed, can we envision Jose Mourinho staying at Roma beyond this season? What about it, young Italian players? Says Joachim. What's the situation with Pagano? I heard that Jose liked him in the preseason, but we signed so many good midfielders in the summer. I think Pagano will eventually get his shot this season. He's one of those players, from the Primavera, like Felix was before him, that eventually will have a chance. We saw it with also Tahirovic last season. Pagano is well liked, and I think in his development he's ahead of somebody like Pisilli, who was also part of Roma's training camp in Portugal. Pagano is more and more often called up with the first team, and I think eventually we'll see him make the kind of appearances we saw make Volpato, right? So we definitely miss Matic. His physicality, calmness is missing, especially during. Especially because Smalling was bullied against Verona. Yeah, I think a big anomaly of these first two games is Smalling being so careless, right, and being so tame and so timid, which is not what you expect him. I actually expect him tomorrow against Milan to really show out. I really want him, Smalling, to be the Smalling that we all know and love, because that's very important for the team to have that security net with Smalling. Crucial. Matic irreplaceable. Yeah, I mean, and especially at that point in time, had Matic made up his mind or at least communicated his intention to the team, say at the end of June, that's when you solve the problem. When you do it at the first week of August, you're basically telling the team to go screw themselves. Because especially this Roma team cannot just get rid of a starter and be like, oh yeah, we have plenty of options. That's not what Roma can do. Okay, let's see. Need to sign Totti from Frosinone. Good shout. Yeah, Totti's son just made his debut for Frosinone's B team. Yeah, let's see. What is your biggest fear for this team? Mine is that Roma has many good players in the midfield that they are not in their best forms. I think my biggest fear always with Roma, and this Roma team is no different. It's the injuries. I'm terrified of injuries. We saw so many objectives just fade away completely because of injuries. We saw a team lose concentration because of injuries, and injuries not only take a physical toll on the team, they also take a mental toll on the team. And that's the bottom line for me. Injuries is, if this Roma can find a way to minimize the situations, the threats, for the players' health, it would be wonderful. I'd love to know why Matic did what he did. Really ridiculous, says Anthony, our good patron. Yes, it's maybe a mystery that will be addressed a few years from now, but that if Jose Mourinho, who is Matic's biggest fan, completely throws him under the bus, not throws him under the bus, but basically points fingers at him, saying, he made a decision that I'm not happy with, and he doesn't want to talk about him, then it's bad. We're all operating out of our comfort zone watching his tactics. I think this team. I think this team will eventually get it right. It will eventually get it right because the talent is there. I think you have options in the midfield. Now you have options in the attack. The key is to get that defensive solidity from last season back as quickly as possible. You know that Rui Patricio will not be any quicker. You know that he's on his decline. Fine. And unfortunately, Roma are not in a position where they can go out and splash 15 million, 20 million on another good starting keeper. That's not what they can do at this moment in time. So Chris Smalling, Gianluca Mancini, Diego Llorente, these are guys that have been here before. Unlike Evan Dika, they need to get it right from the get-go. Has to be, and that's why I say the response has to come tomorrow against Milan. That's the stage that you want Roma to really perform. Not even in terms of tactics. I repeat, I say that from the point of view of the level of focus, the level of the competitive spirit. There needs to be, you know what I want to see. I want this team tomorrow, once the game is over, to have so many highlights reels of of players really getting into Milan's faces. I want Gianluca Mancini, Riccardo to be really out there and sort of showing who they are, what that they mean business, and that you're not gonna clown us, even if you have Christian Pulisic and Rafa Leao. That's bottom line is you're in our home, and that has to be the spirit. The Roma cannot go out there tomorrow and think, "Oh my God, we messed up against Salernitana and Hellas Verona, and we're gonna just be helpless against this Milan side." That's not how it should work. Uh, Thank you very much. You're doing a great, fantastic job. Well, I'm glad that people are liking this. I hope not only to be of entertainment, but also to exactly be able to exchange observations and come up with a few helpful remarks into how we can bear this upcoming, well, this new season with Roma. Right, every season is a challenge, so this is a whole different ballgame. Um, Yahim alludes to a love affair that Matic had. We don't know. We don't know. It's just a lot of that Matic exit is so over the top. That situation is so insane for a player that was in his position with his reputation inside the team and outside with the fans. I mean, this was a guy that had it all and could have had it all had he stayed. The fact that he ended it the way he did is very bizarre. Christensen is going to take Pulisic's head off, says Anthony. I hope so. That has to be the attitude, really. In these games, it has to be the attitude of, we may not have it figured out tactically. We may not be as good as you, but we mean business, and we're not going to shy away from this moment. So I think Mourinho wouldn't have gone for a 3-5-2 if our defenders are good one-on-one. We have, yes, I agree. I mean, Mourinho has said it a number of times. I adapt to the players I have at disposal. The fact that I'm playing with this formation is because Smalling, because this, because that. So, but what we don't want to see is, for example, that high line that we played with against Hellas Verona. Without Roger Ibanez, there is a drastic drop off in terms of pace. And if you do that against Milan, forget about the 7-1 against Fiorentina in the Coppa Italia a few years ago. It's going to get much worse. So, okay. If you guys have any final questions or talking points that you want me to address, please do so now. We are going to be ending this live stream soon, but it was really a big pleasure to have you guys here and be able to preview this tomorrow's game. It's this is by no means it's going to be easy, but it's one of these big matches that I think can help us really understand where we are at. And then one way or another, you have an international break to figure things out, to address mistakes and so on. So let's see. Yeah, when we lost to Bodo, we got a draw against an on fire Napoli next game. That's why I say this team is unpredictable. People don't believe me that, but this team is always unpredictable, will always be unpredictable, no matter who is the coach. Milan's defense is not that great, even if they only conceded just one goal. Tomori had a bad game against Torino, and Tio is still a young and raw talent. I hope Belotti can find a good goal tomorrow. It's very important to not be timid tomorrow. Milan are, I said it on the podcast, the fact that you get 2 games right at the beginning of the season, or you get 2 games wrong at the beginning of the season, doesn't mean anything in terms of who you are as a team. It's still a work in progress. Thanks, Andy. Going to jump into the podcast now. Dai Roma Dai. Yeah, thank you, Joy. For the patrons, the podcast is out now. If you want to get early access to the podcast episodes, you can subscribe and become a patron on patreon.com/romapress. That's how you can get early access to the episodes. We should be wearing you should be wearing Adidas, not Under Armour, says Mads. No loyalty these days. I'm sorry, Mads. You're right. I'll fix this as soon as possible. Uh, prediction? No prediction. I already said it on the podcast. These big matches, I don't want to know, and I don't even think I could pinpoint you a specific result for tomorrow. Mazin, why Atalanta screwed Roma with Zapata but gladly sold him for less to Torino? But thank God we didn't get him, because I think Roma were never convinced in the first place of Zapata, and I think Atalanta knew this. You don't get somebody like Lukaku just like that, on the turning like a switch. You get Lukaku by making inquiries first and knowing, hey, is he going to be available in a few days? So Andy, do you know if anybody isn't coming tomorrow? I said it before. I doubt that anybody would be coming in, but if anybody comes in, it's because it's only for a defender. It's just that. I would only imagine a defender would be able to come in. Uh, CV, okay, I see people. Yeah, what happens to the main sponsor of Roma? That's Roma are working on it. If they don't have a main sponsor right now, it's because the offers that have come in are very underwhelming. So I don't think any of us want to take a step back. Roma, the Friedkins clearly made it their point to get the very best for Roma at this point in time. They even hired the new CEO Lina Soloku to not only work on the stadium but also prioritize the sponsorship, and that's the weight is because probably whatever else you got beforehand was not satisfying enough. So okay guys, I'm going to close this live stream. I wanted to thank you again so much. It really means a lot that there is such a positive response to these things. I really enjoy interacting with you, and I hope to be able to reconnect via such a live stream on Saturday after the game against Milan, so that then we can confront each other, whatever the outcome will be. We can have a civilized conversation. I wanted to again thank you for the support. If you're a patron, thank you so much. If you want to be a patron, you can support us by going to patreon.com/Roma Press. It really means a lot, because then we can do this, we can interact, we can expand to more platforms, and we can offer more content. So thank you guys very much. See you on the next live stream. Keep listening to the show. I know the new episode will be out in a few hours, and keep enjoying the website. We are trying to improve it as we go along. As I said before, we're also trying to bring you the Roma Press podcast episode in a video format. So John is just waiting for his camera to come in, and then we'll be off, and you'll be able to see the both of us. So thank you so much. Thank you, Andy. Dai Roma. Thank you guys so much. This is Andy from Roma Press. Thank you so much. See you next time. Ciao and Forza Roma.